Kentucky today for episode 6 of the Manzella Show on YouTube. It's been a while since I've got to see you, traveling all around the country, learning more good stuff to help you play better golf. We get a lot of questions at BrianManzella.com on the forum. We suggest you sign up. You can't believe all the free information we give away there. We got some good videos as well, but one of the questions we get all the time is about the pivot. Especially these days, because there's a lot of centralized, no-shift pivoting going on, and people don't even really know, I guess, what a learned golf instructor would call a standard pivot. Basically, here's the way I see the pivot. Your spine is behind you, so if you just turned right around that spine, or a point between your shoulders, things that to me, the great players over the last, from Bobby Jones, Harry Vardon, all the way to David Toms, VJ, and Tiger, they all turn around a point between the shoulders because, shoot, you're swinging a golf club with your arms. Your body may be assisting this swing, but you're swinging this club with your arms, and your arms are attached at the shoulders. The point between your shoulders would be the logical place for the pivot center. If you did that, you would wind up with a pivot, something like this, where at the top of the swing, if you have one of these line drawing programs, and you drew a box around my head, at the top of that swing, about half of my head would be so-called out of the box. And there's a lot of stuff going on right now that says that's moving off the ball, but it's hardly moving off the ball. You can't do that, though. This would be moving off the ball. And the way I like to try to explain it to people, because I really don't like talking about the head so much, it's basically a product of what all the other components do, the shoulders and the hips and the knees and the feet. Basically, if you make a backswing where you can lift your left foot off the ground and stay balanced, you've moved off the ball. Now you have, like Homer Kelly said in the Golf Machine, a turn and a weight shift. My teacher, Ben Doyle, taught me a lot about golf, and one of the things he did was he put me on a milk crate. One of these episodes, I'm going to have to pull that milk crate out. I'm a little older now. 20 years have gone by since I stood on that milk crate, but I can tell you, if you stand on a milk crate, your sense of balance is heightened because you don't want to hurt yourself. So you're standing up on this milk crate, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, now, can I make a backswing? You feel like you can, but you can't. You just make this backswing, this totally normal backswing, and so really you're shifting pressure more than shifting weight, because I guarantee if you shift weight, if you make a move, like I said, that I'm making right here, where I could lift my left foot off the ground and basically stay in the same position, let me tell you, you're going to hurt yourself because the side of that milk crate is going to whack you right in the leg. And you know this, so you wind up making a swing that's more centered. But your head moves to the right because your head is attached back here. And like I've told people a lot of times, just sit in a chair at home where you cannot move your shoulders, where your back is up against something. I'll do it like this, so you can see I'm not moving my shoulders. If I rotate my head, and you look at that from upstairs here, a man upstairs looking down at you, or just an overhead shot of your head's going to pivot around a point in the back of your head. We've talked about this in other episodes. So, a standard pivot to me would rotate around that point, and it would get weight off of the left foot, but in a way like we did it when we showed you the Jack Nicklaus swing, where you would be able to put weight, the weight you wouldn't have to put it anywhere, weight would automatically go back to your left foot. So it sort of looks like this in the backswing, where your shoulders turn almost perfectly around your spine, but maybe slightly flatter than that. You have some mobility from left shoulder to right shoulder. And when people talk about a flat shoulder turn, what they're talking about is, this is obviously I've moved, got out of my original waistband right here, but the lower the right shoulder is, that's the flatter shoulder turns, and the higher the right shoulder is, that's the steeper shoulder turns. And why wouldn't you just turn perfectly around your spine? Well, it depends on what you're trying to do. I call the stuff that I teach the Manzella matrix, and the people who really have never heard of that before, even some of the members of my forum don't exactly know what it is. What that is, if you took a standardized pivot with a standardized just Luke Donald. It's just a normal setup and a normal backswing and a normal recenter and downswing and a little axis tilt and a good-looking finish. Come out of the swivel right here and a good-looking finish. If that's standard, and maybe Luke Donald's a little on the draw side, but if something like that is standard, as you move toward the draw side of the Manzella matrix, you get one of my favorite patterns, the Never Slice Again pattern. My video, Never Slice Again 2.0, my first commercial video, real commercial video that you'll see in stores, has a setup where the hands are a little forward and the hips and maybe the right foot's a little closed and the right shoulder's a little lower, because it's all designed to help you make a pivot that, although you couldn't lift that left foot up, is as flat a shoulder turn as practical to help the people that have hit the outside of the ball since they've ever had the club face open, get in a position where they can hit the inside of the ball. Okay, so Luke Donald maybe just slightly on the right side of standard. You got standard maybe, let's say Gene Littler, for some of you that don't remember, go on eBay and get you a book and look at some pictures of Gene Littler, just a standard golf swing. Then moving Luke Donald maybe a hair to the right of that, and at some point you wind up with this Never Slice Again swing where you have a little more axis tilt than normal, and that's the way you play golf, because you got to get to the inside of the ball because you now have cured your club face. That's in the video. As you move toward the left side of the matrix is people like David Toms, who I've got to work with a lot over the years. And David Toms has a swing that's fudging just a hair straighter back and a hair more left, and so he's not going to have this phenomenal pre-axis tilt, axis tilted setup, because he's going to take the club back a little more in front of him, keep it in front of him, and swing further left. Now, what's happened in the last couple of years is, as people have got these line drawing programs, all these club pros and teaching pros around the country, anything but that. I'm at this driving range right now, and I guarantee you, people that think, that a centered pivot is the secret to all the regular people playing better golf, they need to come out to this driving range and watch these people with these perfectly centered pivots that are really reverse pivots, not the stuff that Michael Bennett and Andy Plummer, who are golfing machine devotees and Mac O'Grady disciples, or whatever they want to call themselves. They're good teachers, and they're helping a lot of students, because on the tour, people swing too far to the right way more than swing too far to the left. Different Strokes Golf Center in Louisville, Kentucky, where I teach this time of year, when I'm not traveling all around the country to come help you out there watching this video, these people, they're swinging way too far left because they have an open club face and they're all slicers and they're all, so, I don't know, necessarily if Charlie Wee's backswing with fairly steep shoulder turns and maybe even a shift to the left, and obviously, a straight knee and slanted hips, but I'll let those guys explain, that's their stuff. But I'm just saying, this is the more this way you're going to get, the more left you're going to tend to swing, and the more this way you're going to get, the more right. Now, I think you can exaggerate both. I think you can get too left. I don't think they would want you over here. And even Jimmy Ballard wouldn't want you over here. I've watched a lot of presentations by Jimmy Ballard, and everybody thinks Jimmy Ballard taught some kind of movement like this. But Jimmy Ballard actually likes a fairly steep shoulder turn, and as he winds up into this so-called behind the ball look here. So just watch that you don't overdo it, because you're going to have a tough time getting back to it without maybe coming over the top of it a little bit. Okay? But the big things you want to watch for and you pivot, regular golfers out there that are watching this video, you have to make sure that you don't get yourself all locked into the idea that this knee has to stay straight or this club has to go straight back. If there's one thing that Bennett and Plummer has helped a bunch of people with, is with the idea that you can play very good golf with your hands going much more inward on the backswing, and you can play with standard knee action like Bobby Jones did, where you straighten that right knee and you get this nice slanted hips. Most people I wouldn't lean so far left unless you can play really good golf, and it may help you, but I would suggest that letting this right knee straighten, which Sam Snead did, and he had all the flexibility in the world, and letting that hip turn and keeping this hip slant can help a lot of people. Matter of fact, you could just walk up down the driving range and not fix anything but squaring people's hips up and getting them to kind of straighten their right knee a little bit so they get enough hip turn, to get enough shoulder turn, to have something that looks like a standard pivot. And I mean, they're going to have a chance at the inside of the ball. Now, if they got club face issues, all bets are off. Now, a lot of people don't realize on the downswing, when you hit a golf ball, you absolutely need some axis tilt. That means your spine is tilted somewhat to the right when you hit the ball. That's because you want the force from this pivot to go on the ball. And no matter whether you're making a Bennett and Plummer type pivot, or they got some golfing machine devotees out there that do a good job, and they teach you basically to stay right centered right here and still make a fairly flat shoulder turn and a flat hip turn. Or you're a never slice again candidate, you go to Brian Manzella and he gets you back here, or even Jimmy Ballard, who again would make you make a backswing move that you couldn't lift that left foot off the ground. Beware of these people now. No matter which one of those pivots you use, you need axis tilt in the downswing. You need to get that right shoulder moving more toward the ball. When you watch good players, you don't really see it. But the story I like to tell is I was at the 2000 PGA, not a mile this way where I'm pointing right here, Valhalla Golf Club, where they're going to play the Ryder Cup here in 2008. Great golf course. You get a chance to play it. Take a trip to Louisville. Come take a lesson from me while you're at it. Before the round. Anyway, Valhalla right here, we're at the 2000 PGA with Ben Doyle sitting in the stands watching all the great players play. Tiger's playing really good at the time. And I'm trying to soak up as much Ben Doyle as I can. Ben's a wealth of information, and his commentary on things golf are always just a little bit off the beaten path of just the same old stuff. And you're always going to learn something from someone so knowledgeable. So I'm listening to Ben and all these regular people, all these people that, they listen to the magazines and the Golf Channel, and there's good information there, but I'm trying to tune these people out. I do not want to listen to what they say. I got Ben Doyle sitting next to me, and Ben talks very softly. So while we're there, we're listening to Ben, there's an African-American gentleman about 3 rows up, and he's got a real deep, distinctive voice. It's obvious he's played some golf, and he has a friend with him that probably this is the first time he's ever seen golf, wants to come out and watch the best player in the world, Tiger Woods. He's sort of explaining to him, these guys, they're starting with the wedges and they're working up the driver. He had pretty good knowledge, but you could tell his knowledge was practically gained, maybe from other good players and friends of his that introduced him to the game. Didn't sound like this run-of-the-mill stuff that, you hear at every golf club and golf course and driving range in the world. So I was really listening to this gentleman because I thought, he may come up with something good right here, and he did. He said, I know what makes Tiger better than all those guys. Man, my ear got this big. And he said, Tiger looks more like the logo. And he meant the PGA Tour logo, which some rumors say that's Johnny Miller in 1971, but whoever it is, it's a golfer in about the finish swivel right here with an obvious upper body, or at least torso, tilt to the right. Good players do this. That's what makes good players look like good players, and hackers look like hackers. Axis tilt. Of course, to even be able to utilize axis tilt, if you've got this club face, you're going to have axis tilt no matter what, but be able to hit the ball straight with a proper amount of axis tilt, if that club face winds up either in your hands or on the backswing or on the downswing, like we talked about never slice again, too open, the more axis tilt you have, the more that ball is going to take off at a 45-degree angle. So that's where people, they remove their axis tilt to try to get the ball to start far enough left. But if you can fix your club face, you can get this nice standardized grip and a nice flat rest at the top and steadily start closing that face on the downswing and close it even more going through, you're going to be able to utilize this axis tilt, which is going to take some of the force from your swing and dump it on the ball. Because all the force, if I took a ball right here, I like to do this exercise when I'm throwing balls. I like to put the ball that I'm actually going to try to hit about a golf ball, or about a yard and a half down the target line. And the reason I did this is when we first started videoing years 10, 15 years ago, maybe more, of throwing the ball, more like 20 probably, throwing the ball that you have in your right hand at the spot where your golf ball is. It didn't look as golf-like as when we figured out if you threw it down the line. Now, you wouldn't make this movement. I have no chance to hit that ball. I don't think I'd do this either, but I think I'd do something about like this, into my right hip, but I couldn't lift that left foot off the ground, and then I'd throw that ball right at that other ball. That's a really good way to learn an effective pivot, but I guarantee you, if you slow that down, you're going to see a movement on this downswing, so to speak, where once I center, my hips get left and they start opening, my shoulders start tilting as they start opening, so that I can get my elbow leading here. We call this pitch attitude, and I just threw that ball at that other ball. Some people might do it with an elbow more out, call that punch attitude. That's fine, but the point is your shoulder is not going to go this way when you're trying to throw the ball that way. And you want to do the same thing when you got a golf ball and you're trying to hit it with a golf club. All these drills, you're going to try to get to the top of your backswing, and you're going to try to get that force to go in the ball. Some people are very right-sided oriented. Some people are very left-side oriented. And I can tell you that I've had a lot of success with the opposite thought. Instead of telling people to get their right shoulder at the ball, get the left shoulder away from the ball. Because as you watch, as that imaginary golf ball or the force in this right hand, right arm starts going down and my right shoulder starts moving in that direction, you see this club head right here, that's where my left shoulder is, it's moving up and in, exactly in the opposite direction relative to the swing plane, and I'm going to show you that right now. So what I have right here, I got a 3-iron right here. I'm going to put my 4-iron, I'm going to put on my shoulder so you can see that club head represents my left shoulder. Got a golf club in my hand like I'm going to swing it down my trusty little blue plane board right here. And everybody always asks me from all my videos, where do I get that plane board? Well, good friend of mine, John Weaver, rovergolf.com, he has the best training aids on the market. We're working on one of these. We're going to try to get it to you at a reasonable price. Right now, we have to sell it for more money than really I think it's even worth. But as I go up this plane, you can see how my shoulder, my left chest area went down the plane a little bit. Now, this is steeper shoulders and this is flatter shoulders, but you can see as that club goes up the plane, my left chest and left shoulder goes down the plane. As my club goes down and out, my left shoulder and chest area starts going up and in. And a little inflexible these days, but there's axis tilt right there, trying to get that shoulder line a little bit more toward the ball. All good players do this. Now, you can play good golf with a shoulder turn that's a little flatter. What if you're not flexible enough to get axis tilt? You get up, whether it's age or, like me, a little too much gut and inflexibility, you can always, if you need the axis tilt, you can always close your stance a little bit, and then as far as the ball goes, you'll still have some axis tilt, even though it'll look like to your buddies as you're coming over the top of it. The point is that a standard pivot is a pivot. To me, a good pivot is a pivot that puts you in a position, at the top of the swing that you can utilize the strength in your body to hit the heck out of this ball. You got to generate power to play good golf. I've been doing a lot of experimentation with this left shift pivot, and I want to know what's going on in golf. And I get some good shots because it influences what the club is doing. If you look at video 1, episode 1 of this Brian Manzella Golf Show, the only thing that matters is what this club is doing and what they're trying to accomplish. Not the only thing they're trying to accomplish with this supposedly unorthodox, but pretty orthodox. Look at the 1960 Masters footage that they did. They showed Jim Nantz Presents right before the last round of the Masters. The upper body was pretty standard 40 years ago. Now, I would say the upper body standard, but most of those golfers were right here, and I was tour event in New Orleans, and Charlie Lee a little further left. But the point is, what are they trying to do? Well, they're trying to do some stuff with the centers and but they're also trying to influence this line. This plane, like I keep saying, is the boss. And most people who play bad golf either have open club faces and they crash into this plane because they're trying to start their slice. Good players start getting closed club faces and they start coming from below the plane. And the easy way to do that, really do move off of that ball. Yeah, I'll move way off of it for you right here. And shoot, I'd have a tough time. I'd have to readjust right here to be able to draw a straight line. But you can see, I'll make a nice easy swing for you right here, that it's pretty orthodox to just go up that plane, get to the top of your swing right here, trace the plane coming down, exit right here. Now, the exit's very important because this is the part that good players start doing poorly. They get in here a little bit and the club goes this way. If it goes this way too much, you can still make the ball go straight, but you're going to have basically a closed club face and a hook to do it. And really on tour, you need to get the ball up in the air to stop it on these hard greens. So, you're trying to make a pivot for you that's going to let you take that club and trace a nice plane. And that pivot may be a pivot that's a little bit more to the right. Again, never be able to lift that left foot up off the ground. Or it may be a pivot, the other side of the Manzella matrix, that is a little bit more of a shift into this right hip with very little upper body movement, like the never hook again pattern. That's basically just this barely exaggerated version of David Thompson's swing. The Bennett Plummer pattern is just you branch off of that and say, hey, just change the never hook again top of the backswing and have all the weight on the left foot at the top. It accomplishes the same thing. A good pivot is a pivot that lets you develop some speed, use the ground to develop some like frisbee toss speed. It lets you break your pivot to get this snap on the ball, kinetic chain. We'll talk about that in another episode. And it lets you draw a straight plane line. You got any questions about any of this, come to brianmanzella.com, go to the forum, sign up. All you need is an email address, and I guarantee it will help you figure this pivot out and play the best golf you ever have.